Okay, here we are. You guys are going to be the first to use a new technology that Mr. Page is trying to attempt. As you can see, I am not here. Where am I? Well, right now I believe I might be laying in bed sick, or I think I'm just getting home from the doctor. Depends on the time. But I knew I was not going to be in here today, so I made this program. And we're going to see how it works. So you need to have your notebooks out. I want everybody paying attention. I hope Jocelyn and Amberlynn did not come late. Okay. Patrick, sit up in the back and put your phone away. And let's see if we can get this done. We're going to be talking about climate. Climate is our discussion. So get your notes ready. Let's see if we can get this done. Ooh, you see that moving around a little bit? It's like I'm doing it, isn't it? Well, here we are, climate. What is climate? Remember we talked about this, the difference between weather and climate. We talked about weather. Weather is what happens day to day. It's raining outside, it's sunny outside. Climate is a little different. Climate is over a long period of time. Florida has a sunny climate. We have a moderate climate here on Long Island. Some people would say we have a wet climate. So climate is over a long period of time. So it is the average temperature and humidity over a period of time. Again, notice the two things we use, temperature and humidity. These are two things the weatherman is concerned about. Everything else works around that. It's all an end result. If it's cold out, your humidity is going to be one way. If it's very humid out, your temperature is going to react differently. Those two work together, and that's what you're going to be seeing. So climate's the average temperature and humidity over a period of time. How do we get the temperature? It's taken at an average over a year period. You did not do the average temperature over a month. Why wouldn't we do the average temperature over June and say that was Long Island's temperature? All right, Max, I see your hands up, but I'm not here to pick on it. It was just a philosophical question. Okay? The temperature, we do it over a year's time because you have all 4 seasons. And that average gives us our average temperature. The humidity, we average the amount of rainfall over a year's time. Precipitation, rainfall, snowfall, hail, any water coming out of the sky over a year's time is the average humidity. And that adds to the climate. There are some places where they average 300 inches of rain a year. Well, there's only 365 days, so that's almost every day you get an inch of rain every day. Seattle, Washington, supposed to be a very beautiful city. They get 270 inches of rain a year. So if people say, "Oh, Seattle's a beautiful city," yeah, when it's not raining. It rains most of the time. Okay, they're right on the Pacific Ocean. They get a lot of moisture off the ocean. It rains all the time. And we're going to look at why, because of one of the land features there that causes rain to happen. So, there you go. Climate, the average temperature and humidity over a period of time. Temperature, the average temperature over a year. And the humidity, the amount of precipitation over a year. Alright. Get your notes out. Joseph, come on. You need to be taking notes. I see you over there. Alright. Somebody nudge Marcus. His head's down again. Okay. Factors affecting climate. You should be skipping a line. This is one of those things that I give you that I list. You're going to have to list these things. Just like we did factors about water and different factors that affect weathering. Well, these are factors that affect climate. Now, what do you think one factor would be that affects climate? Well, if climate's your average temperature over the year, and you want to look at the average temperature, obviously Florida has a warmer average temperature than, let's say, Minnesota. People who live on the equator have a warmer average temperature than the people that live in Florida. What am I changing there from the equator to Florida to northern Minnesota? Something we learned a while ago that we're going to be reviewing. Well, it wasn't elevation. Thought that's what came next. But elevation. The higher the elevation means the colder the climate. If you live in the Rocky Mountains, you have a colder climate than if you live down on the plains of Idaho. Okay, elevation. How high up? People upstate New York, colder climate than the people here on Long Island. That's one of the reasons why. Any questions? Oh, I can't answer any, can I? Oh, sorry. Just keep taking notes. Come on, we're going to see how this works. If we can get through this, I'm going to have a little video for you. So this is what I was getting at before. I got ahead of myself. Your latitude, where you are located on this planet Earth, depends on your climate. So now you have elevation, how high up you are, or how low you are, and latitude. So both of these are places where you live, your location. Latitude, the higher latitude, is a colder climate. The equator is 0 degrees latitude. You can't get much warmer than the average temperature on the equator. The average temperature on the equator is about 83, 84 degrees. Now that's the average. 84. So that means most of the time, or at least over half the time, it's got to be hotter than 84. And you do in the summer months when the sun is right over, 102, 104, 110 every day. And then when they get into their cold season on the equator, it drops all the way down to 70, 68. That's cold on the equator. 68, you don't get much lower than 68. Okay? So elevation, latitude, where you are located, bodies of water that are nearby you. In our neck of the woods, we have the Atlantic Ocean. It definitely affects our climate. Affects our weather day to day, but it affects our climate overall. The ocean is warm. Even though you go in swimming in there, ooh, it's warmer than the air around it most of the time. I mean, in the winter, it's warmer than the air around it. In the summer, it's colder. So it keeps us cool in the summer and warm in the winter. The Great Lakes. Upstate New York, the Great Lakes. They are large bodies of water. They have a lot of moisture coming off of them. When the moisture comes off, it hits the people, hits the air. Hits the people too, I guess. But it hits the air, and the moisture is dropped out in snow. I went to school in Oswego, right on Lake Ontario. And when I was there, we had 32 days in a row of an inch or more of snow. 32 days in a row. It was over about 4 feet of snow on the ground by the time it was over. Okay, so the Great Lakes pick up a lot of moisture and then dump it on the coastlines. So those towns, those have a different climate than just going inland a little bit. Syracuse, New York has a different climate than Buffalo, New York. And they're pretty much near the same latitude. Okay? So you have elevation, latitude, bodies of water. Oops, got a little small. Mountains. If you live on a mountain, depending on the side of the mountain you live on, depends on your climate. Mountains can stop moisture. They can cause deserts. But in the case of what I was talking about before, Seattle, they're on the leeward side of the mountain. The moisture comes in off the Pacific Ocean, hits the mountain, and dumps before it gets up over the mountain. So Seattle gets rain all the time. On the other side of the mountains up there, in Idaho and Montana, they actually have dry, arid conditions. I wouldn't call it a desert, but it is very arid. It's hard to grow stuff. And they're only a few hundred miles in distance, line distance, from where we are. Lastly, our last page of notes. So we're talking about climate. These are the 3 or 4 things that affect climate. Prevailing winds. What the heck are prevailing winds? We have winds that run all the time, that blow pretty much steadily in the same direction. We call them the westerlies. They move our weather, which we talked about, from west to east. Not east to west. Everyone wants to say the phrase east to west. Everybody, right now, say to me, west to east. Say it again. Ready? West to east. Much better. Okay? Come on now. Tyrell, even you have to say it. Come on, I saw. And Josh, come on. West to east. Okay? Our weather moves west to east because of the westerlies. A prevailing wind that blows over the United States, starts out in California, and they work their way across. Come all the way across to us. Okay? And lastly, ocean currents. They carry warm water from the equator, or they carry cold water back to the equator. So we have, for us, here on Long Island, we have the Gulf Stream, which picks up warm water down in the Gulf Stream, carries it up the coast, and literally bangs into Long Island and Massachusetts and Cape Cod up there, and then heads across the Atlantic Ocean to England. So it carries warm water. This keeps us warm. We are actually a little farther north. We should be a little colder. If you stay on our line of latitude and you look at cities like Philadelphia, or you look at other cities, they're colder than us. But that's because we have this warm water. And that Gulf Stream goes across the ocean and hits England. Same warm water that we have flows across the ocean, hits England, and keeps England warm. England should be cold. It's really up farther up in Nova Scotia on the line of latitude, which here in the United States, Nova Scotia, part of Canada, they're frozen. They have ice around their shores. England never has ice. So England is lucky because of this. So ocean currents carry warm water from the equator, or they carry cold water back to the equator. Okay? Alright, you did pretty good. Let's see how our notes did. Everyone look your notes over. Jocelyn, look your notes over. Okay, everybody checking them out? You have everything? You want me to go back over? You want to look at a couple things? What climate is? Okay. Factors affecting climate? Alright. Ocean currents, prevailing winds. Alright. Okay. We're good with the notes. Now our substitute teacher is going to place in our video, and we're going to watch a little bit of the end of the jungle, and then we're going to talk about this stuff tomorrow. Thank you for my new technology. I see you all. Stop fooling around. Okay?